Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Garbage Media Podcast. I'll be your host tonight, Terry Moose, your spirit animal.
I'm Travis. Hi.
And I'm Billy.
Hi, Billy.
Hi, Billy, who is not Billy tonight.
You can call me Carl.
So this is Carl. Billy is missing in action. I'm assuming he's been captured by, like, the Chinese mafia or something. He owes the money.
But first, we must tell Terry happy birthday.
Hey,
It is a
now.
birthday for somebody here.
Hey now, it's my birthday. Let's get our game on. Go play now? Is that the song?
Yeah, that's how it goes. You're the oldest one in here, actually.
Yep. I've reached peak boomer.
Peak Boomer and AARP of eligible.
And tonight we're reviewing a movie that is close to Carl's heart.
Very.
Tremors, the original.
Close to
Kevin
his heart is
Bacon.
an understatement.
I love this movie.
He does.
Yeah. I was going to ask Kyle, just how much does he like this movie? Why don't you tell the listeners, what you did as a young boy when you watched this movie?
Young boy is a little,
High school.
but we had an individualized reading class or something like that where we had to read different books or we could keep a journal for credit. And I had read every single book that I wanted to read and started a journal. So I decided, since I had seen Tremors so much, like as a kid, my parents would take us to a movie store and I'd be able to rent it every now and then, but I was tired of having to rent it. So I set up our VCR to record it when it was on TV once. And then I recorded it a second time and then a third time. So I had a VHS that was just full of Tremors. Like it would end and then Tremors would start again. And I just religiously watched that. And I had the lines word for word memorized for 75% of the movie. And I decided, hey, I'm going to write the script for this journal for this class. And I ended up getting, I don't know, like 100 and some points extra credit from the teacher because it was like 3 notebooks long. It was one of my best accomplishments of my life. That's how amazing.
Transcribing an entire movie and getting extra credit.
Well, I mean, I even put like Val and then his line, and then I put, Earl. Thank you. And I just went through the list, and I mean, if they could have turned it into a play. I mean, it had all the information they had to know. Pretty big deal.
That's great.
I don't know if the playwrights would want to have to fix the flooring with every showing.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, that's where you're going with that. So
It took me a minute.
So the movie starts, and Valentine's taking the piss off the edge of a cliff because they live in the middle of nowhere. In, what is it, Nevada? Wyoming?
Yep, it's in
Nevada.
Okay, Nevada.
Perfection, Nevada.
Perfection, Nevada.
Population 14.
That is true. That's what it says on the sign for the city when they get to that point.
Yeah, a couple of handymen out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yep, they are kind of the go-getters. They do a little bit of everything. Jack of all trades kind of guys. They're not happy with their job though. Like, they're very unhappy with what they're doing.
They want to leave for, what was it? What was the other town? Bixby.
Yeah. There's probably more like 30 people that live in Bixby. I don't know. I'm sure Bixby's a real town.
I'm sure Perfection is now.
Yeah, at least for the tourist end of things. And so they enjoy playing rocks, paper, scissors against each other to decide to do things, and that's cemented throughout the whole movie.
Yes, I love that it's a running gag. Same with plans. Earl, the entire movie is saying, "You got to have a plan, Valentine. You got to have a plan," and then
it pays off.
Yep, it has a giant payoff at the end.
Yeah, Earl definitely. Well, he's a little older than Valentine, and so he's kind of taking the lead as like a mentor almost for Valentine is what it feels like, and he's trying to just teach this darn young kid how to live life. And so they're out and about doing their normal things, and then
handyman work,
stuff,
fixing shitters and getting shit sprayed all over them.
No, before that though, they meet that new college student that's there on to like seismic activity.
The seismologist, yeah, they're out for out on a drive and they see somebody that they don't recognize right away, so they check it out, and it's a seismologist. Like,
But
oh, weird shit's
That's
going on.
supposed to be a girl.
yep, Valentine's very excited about it. He's looking for the ladies. There isn't that much available women in a town of 14 people, apparently.
I'd reconsider the name Perfection.
It is definitely out in the middle of nowhere. So they meet the new college student, and Valentine's definitely disappointed. He was hoping for some hot blonde. What was it? With brown?
You will have long blonde hair, big green
Here we
eyes,
go.
world-class breasts, ass that won't quit, and legs that go all the way up.
Those are his exact words.
You got to put
Earl.
emphasis on the all. Legs that go all the way up.
Yes.
And the look on on Earl's face is very disappointed in Valentine. Like, really, Valentine, such a woman doesn't exist in the world. Is kind of where is the kind of way he looks at it. He's definitely the pessimist. Earl is, and Valentine's the optimist.
Yeah.
Was it just me, or did Val look kind of let down when they pull up to what's the name of the seismologist again?
Rhonda.
They pull up to Rhonda, and she's got like sunscreen plastered all over her nose or something.
And she's got like this funny hat on, and like the clothing she's wearing is just very ugly, I guess.
Yeah, it's working clothes.
Yep.
And so Val sees her, and so, you know, he's like, yes. Oh,
she's not a bad looking woman. It's just the clothing
no,
is
not at all.
very unappealing. What she's wearing
it didn't match his expectations.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Earl has like this "I told you" look on his face, just like the most "I told you" look ever.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, Val was just sitting there thinking, gosh darn it, I'm going to have to wait till the next semester when they send up a new college student.
Like, that's his long-term plan for romance, is to just wait until a really hot-looking young woman is the college student that shows up.
That's the way I take it, yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's possible. Like I said, where else is he going to meet a woman in that town?
Can we get to the dead body?
We're not quite. No. We gotta go to. Now they go to town because they're tired and they're gonna leave town. And remember, Mr. Chang's ice machine isn't working properly.
For like his cooler.
His cooler.
Yep, it's like an island cooler. And Walter asks, "Guys, listen, bearing going out." And then Val's gonna go look at it. And again, with the whole having a plan, Earl is like, we'll catch you later, Chang. And then Val's like, yeah, I figured it out. So we plan today. I forget how that line goes, but we plan ahead now so we don't do anything now, or something like that along those lines.
Yeah, you're thinking about Monday, and I'm already thinking about Wednesday. Wait a minute, Monday, is today Monday, right? It's like, yeah, neither of them really got it together.
No, well, they're talking about doing Nestor's garbage. And he's like, that's $47 more than we have now. He pays us $50, and that's $47. I'm like, how the hell are you buying? Because every time they walk into Chang's, I don't know if you noticed it, every time they walk into the place, Walter's always taking 2 beers out and setting them on the table.
Yes, he is.
So it's like, how are you paying for this beer if you only have $3 to your name?
I'm assuming it's on tab. They have like a tab running with them.
Maybe they just work it off since they're handyman too, I guess.
Could be anything. If it's a population of 14, they all know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like any of them are getting away with anything.
Right. But when we go to town, we meet Walter, we meet Bert and his wife, Heather. And I think, what's the kid's name?
Melvin,
yep.
So we meet most of the townsfolk. They're kind of introducing us to the rest of the cast of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they've decided they aren't big fans of this. They're tired of picking up garbage and getting covered in literal poop and just doing all of the really horrible jobs around town. And so they pack up and leave.
Heading for Bixby permanently. They even turned down free beer.
Yep, and they're very proud of themselves when they turned down that free beer. Like that was like the achievement of their lives. Like, yeah, we ignored free beer, guys. So yeah, they're a cheap date.
Yep. Then they run into Edgar Deeves as they're leaving Perfection on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And he's climbed up on a tower.
Yeah, like one of the towers for like the electric towers for electricity, one of the big monster ones.
And ironically, I'm like growing up, never knew much about guns, but the first gun that I actually knew about was a Winchester because they had quoted that specific brand in the movie.
Yeah, because that's what old Fred had, was Winchester.
And I learned that dehydration takes 3 to 4 days.
But yeah, they decide that they're gonna have to get old Fred down off the tower because they think he just got really drunk, and so they rock paper scissors for it because that's their thing.
Yep. And like always, Earl wins.
Yeah, Errol wins a lot, like every time, if you notice.
Yep. And so Val goes up the tower, complaining, muttering underneath his breath the entire time, and then when he gets up there, he realizes he's dead. Which I want to know, do you think he like slung him over his shoulder and carried him down the tower? Do you think he just undid his arms and threw him off?
Oh Jesus, that's dark. But
that's why I wanted to talk about the body, because that was my big question too. We see him climb up the thing and find the body, but in the very next shot, the body's already on the floor. And this is fucking, what, 50, 60 feet up in the air?
Yeah.
It's not like they had a ladder to go up, but he just climbed this.
It would be
pipes.
It would be a lot of dead weight to bring down with you.
Because he was not a little guy. I mean, he was a chubby.
Yep, he had a few pounds on him.
Yeah, he was a full-grown man, all right. And I mean, Val's young and he looked tough enough, but like still, just
like all you have are those tiny little handrails, you know, like to hang on to. Like that becomes almost a liability. Liability if you have them on your shoulder.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking he just yeeted him off the tower.
Right? Like, what would we do in that situation? We're out in the middle of the nowhere. We're climbing up this dumb tower.
To be honest, we would have left him there and been like, somebody else can find him.
Well, I know you'd have left him there.
What's that line? Not my pig, not my farm, or something?
I don't know.
I would have doodled. I would have got like a permanent marker and doodled on his face saying Valentine was here.
Rip.
I mean, we're gonna go dark. We might as well go full dark here.
I'm drawing a dick on his cheek then.
And then stuff the marker in so it looks like a dick's poking out.
But so anyway, they get old Fred down somehow. We don't know how. Mysteriously, if you want to say he got yeeted or you want to say he got carried down. And
with yeeted.
Yeah, yeeted does make more sense. That would be a pain in the ass to try to get him on. I suppose Earl maybe went up and helped him, but I don't know how he would have. I mean,
there's only one ladder, like, if you will.
Yeah, it does. I don't know how he would have almost had to do it solo. Yeah.
I think speculation is he threw him off the tower. He undid his arms and legs that were wrapped around that part of the tower and just shoved them. And he went, because I mean, you only see in his feet afterwards because he was underneath that cloth in the back of the truck.
And when
the body was covered. That mofo got yeeted.
And when they bring him
We've
back,
decided it's closed. It's been decided. That mother trucker got thrown. So then we get introduced to the doctor and his wife that are building a new house just outside of Perfection.
And they ask the doctor what's going on, and they tell him, yeah, he died from thirst.
And Val's like, doesn't that take a couple of days? And the doctor says, even 3 or 4.
So the mystery definitely deepens. Like something weird's going on around town, but we're not exactly sure what's going on.
So they did their due diligence, and then you see him again trying to leave Perfection.
But now they think it's a murderer, though, because how else could old Fred have been stuck up there?
Well, that was Edgar Deves. I think because at that point they were still debating, do you think he hated Perfection more than us? And then they debated, do you think somebody stood below? And then that's when they're like, and who's not afraid of a Winchester rifle? You know?
But they still think there was something fishy.
Yeah, they knew it was weird, but they hadn't gotten a serial killer yet.
The next one, when they're leaving Perfection again for the second time, they run into old Fred and his flock of sheep. That's when they start thinking it's a murderer.
Because, old Fred is missing. His sheep have just been torn apart, and they're like, what's going on here? This is super weird. And then they see his hat laying there out there in his, field, his vegetable field.
Yeah, it was like a construction looking hat, wasn't it? Or am I thinking of the next one?
It was like a straw hat made out of cloth.
Okay.
But you're thinking of the next one with the construction hat.
Okay. Is this the one where he picks the hat up and you just see the head in the ground?
Yep.
Okay.
the one that doesn't make any sense. Like throughout the entire movie, the graboid pulls whatever it is, pulls everything into the ground and eats it. And then they find that hat, they lift it up, and there's a face sticking out of the ground.
Maybe it ate the rest of his body and left his head for some weird reason.
Maybe, I guess. Maybe there was no meat in it.
Like the tip of the mouth just clamped shut right at the neck.
Coulda, I guess. But yeah, that's the only inconsistency I can really have with that movie.
It was obviously something they did to freak people out because it is very disturbing.
Yeah, because mind you, this movie was made in 1990. I would have been 3 years old when it was made. I think I was like 5 or 6 when I first seen it. Now probably a little older, 8 or 9 maybe.
Yeah, you're about 8 or 9 now.
I hate you.
Yeah, but now they're really freaked out. Like they're like, something is going down here. Like people are dying left and right. Remember, the population's only 14 in this town. Like we're talking like 1/5 the population of the whole town is like dead practically, like out of left field.
Right. But a side topic, it's so if you go off of that, 2 people are already dead out of those 14. But when I did the reading up on the trivia, the original opening scene to the movie where Val's peeing, like how the movie opens up, the original movie was supposed to start with somebody else being killed.
Oh,
like seeing it. So there's actually, according to that, 3 people dead out of 14. So you're down to 11 people left.
but they just didn't decide
They
to
said
put
it
that
was
in the
too
movie.
dark or something, so they had to take it out.
There's some pretty dark moments in the movie, so that must have been pretty brutal how they...
It was graphic. Like, you apparently got to see everything with the murder, like the death of it.
Oh,
like
boy.
Like blood and gore, everything. So they cut that out, and they decided to film the opening scene that you did see.
Well, they probably wanted to keep they were going for more of that mystery thing for like the first third of the movie, the first act of the movie. It's
Right.
like something weird's going on. What's going on here? Is there a serial killer? What's really happening to these people?
Yep. And so they find old Fred, and then they leave there, and they're heading back to Perfection to call the authorities or something, and they go past those 2 people working on the road.
Okay, my problem with the construction workers is it seems like they're not fixing anything. They're just out here and they're just tearing up the road, but I don't know why they're actually tearing the road up.
Right. There's no
Yeah, the
actual
road looks good.
physically wrong.
Were they putting in like a
culvert?
a culvert? That's the only thing I can think of is why they would need to tear up the road.
Right.
I guess maybe they were putting one in. We're just gonna go with it for convenience sake. They're tearing the road up to do a culvert.
Maybe they had to edit that in or something, like do a last minute add in for the story because of the one that they removed for the beginning. Maybe, I don't know.
I think they were doing that because of what happens to the construction workers after they warn them and they ignore them.
They had to show that because that was the only road.
That was the only road in and out of town. So when the construction workers die, but we don't actually see what kills them. The first one just goes with his
hill,
yeah. He's just breaking up the stuff on the road, the rock, the like asphalt, and then he hits something, and it's like you see like this weird goo come up out of the ground. It's like, okay, that's a little strange. What's up with that?
Yep. And then the jackhammer goes flying up the hill, and he's wrapped around like Bugs Bunny or Looney Tunes style.
Yeah, it was very Looney Tune-ish
in the cord, and then the other worker goes and looks up the hill, Carmine, and then giant boulders are falling. He's like, I'm just gonna stand here.
Yeah, I thought he could have got out of the way myself, but this is movie logic. He's an idiot.
And that jackhammer got taken for a ride.
It did.
Yeah. Well, I had to take it to, they couldn't shoot through the concrete or the asphalt, whatever that was. So they had to drag the worker and the jackhammer up to the loose dirt so it could eat them.
That's true. I couldn't eat him with the concrete or asphalt in the way.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I've seen this movie enough. Little details never get missed by me.
But so yeah, they go back to town and then they try to call out using the payphone.
Walter, your phone's out. I didn't do it.
I always found that an odd sentence that he responds that I didn't do it. Like, what, Walter, you think that people are accusing you of being the murderer? Like, why would you say that, Walter? It's a little sus. Just like a strange response. But yeah.
Yep. So, but no, we missed a part. When they were... No. I got ahead of myself.
I thought we were covering it. But yeah, so then they decide that they're going to go back out on the road drive back out anyway since they couldn't use the payphone.
Right. Go to Bixby and get help.
Yep. But now the road has been clogged because of the falling rocks.
Avalanche.
Like I would say it's a landslide. Avalanche is for
yes.
snow. So yeah,
You're right.
they had that landslide and they can't get out, and now they're really screwed because there's no way in and out of the valley using normal vehicles.
So they turn around. Well, no, they
go to back up.
They see the helmet, the construction helmet, full of like brain and blood and stuff, and they're like,
all that viscera.
Yep. And so they get in the truck and they back out, and he gets hung up, I tell you.
Or Earl is trying to load his handgun. He has a handgun, he's loading it, he's like freaking out, and Valentine backs up into the hill behind him. Then Earl's like, "We're stuck, Valentine. We're hung up." And Valentine's, "No, we're not. We're not stuck. We're not hung up." And they're arguing, bickering like an old married couple about it.
Yep. And then he has to put it in 4-wheel drive, and finally he gets out of there.
You're gonna burn it up. You're gonna burn up the transmission and the clutch,
you're
or
gonna
something
burn the
like
clutch.
that.
Yep.
But they get back to town. They're like, "Oh, that was really
you
weird.
Need to spend the night out here, crybaby."
I don't drive a clutch, so I didn't understand what was happening at all, except that he was doing things to a car he shouldn't do, or that the other guy thought he shouldn't do.
Pretty much, yeah.
They get back to town and jump out, and they're like, "Holy shit! There's a mass murderer, everybody!" And then, what was it? Was it Bert?
Mindy. No, Mindy.
Oh,
was
Mindy.
The one that saw it, the little girl with the pogo stick.
Yeah, Mindy's dumb, and she should have died. And so they're all freaking out because something's attached to their back end of the truck.
Yep, the axle.
The axle, yeah. It looks like a big snake, but they're not quite sure what it is.
But one couldn't eat all of old Fred's sheep, is what they've decided.
Yeah, whatever it is. Oh, don't forget, Mr. Chang wants to buy whatever that thing is off of them.
I'll give you guys $5 for this. 20, 10, 15, fine, $15. Damn right, $15.
And that's how he got a piece of actual monster for 15 bones.
Yep.
And then you see him taking pictures of kids shortly thereafter for $3.
Capitalism.
Yep, Mr. Chang is a true capitalist. That's why he runs the local business in town.
Actually, no. We just skipped over a giant part. That's where they decided to use Walter's saddle horses to try to ride to Bixby.
But I thought that was right after they were doing the pictures and stuff. I thought it was decided they would.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting all my stuff mixed up.
Yeah, you're trying to get us slightly ahead of yourself with where we are in the movie.
I just want to talk about the good stuff. Come on.
Now,
but yeah.
I believe though that while they're doing the saddle horse stuff, and it's actually surprising. Mr. Chang is really willing to give them the saddle horses and even gives them ammunition and food and stuff. I was really surprised.
Yep.
Being such a capitalist that he is, but I suppose he's worried about a mass murder or whatever the hell these things are.
About, everybody's dying that comes to his store regularly. He needs the random people that have to drive past perfection that can't get to perfection. So he's probably worrying about his business. Do whatever you need. I need customers.
That's true. But and this is when Bert actually starts becoming, at least he starts really coming into the picture, him and his wife, because they want to go to war with whatever this thing is.
Yep.
And Bert's a prepper.
Yeah.
A big prepper.
For sure.
Bit of a prepper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Going down into that man's basement is like loading up the gun program in the Matrix.
That is the best way to describe Bert and his wife. They are prepared for this, but no one thinks that this is the correct thing to do, is to go out there with a bunch of guns and try to hunt these things down. But
Bert doesn't want the government to be involved.
How does Bert know that this isn't part of a secret government program?
True.
He's super paranoid about this stuff when they're discussing what these things could be.
Yep. Space
aliens or something. They aren't really sure. But now we need to talk about the doctor and his wife before we get too far ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're building this nice dream home and they're happy and they're out there and they're looking at the construction and they're like, yep.
Talking about going to Bixby to get the cinder blocks.
Yep. Building this dream home. Seemed like a happy couple. And then something happens to their generator.
Yep.
it just kind of disappears. And they go over to
It's
investigate.
And then the doctor, who, mind you, is a doctor, starts speculating on what it could be. Like, there's a lot of mines around here. Why are you building your house on a mine, man? Yeah, guys, they stink like that, he says. You're a fucking doctor. What are you doing? Get the hell out. Oh.
Yeah, the wife
That's a
is
good
the
point.
smart one. The wife is like freaking out. She's like, I don't know what it is, but we got to like just jump in the truck. Let's get the hell out of here.
I found this property, hon. It's really, really cheap. I don't know who would give this away. Let's see. Shingle roofing, heaters brand new, built on landmines and geysers. I don't see a problem.
There's a pet cemetery somewhere on the property.
It's built over an Indian grave.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Yep. So then she finally, I think, convinces him to turn back.
Yeah,
and
like he wanted to keep walking forward and like start digging the hole like into where their generator had been. I swear to God, if you give him a shovel, he'd have been like, dig a hole. Like he was not scared at all.
Yep. And then so she finally got him to kind of turn towards their car or their house or whatever, the makeshift house that they're living in.
Like like the little camper they had there.
And then all of a sudden he starts sinking into the ground. And I will not lie. When I seen this movie, I had nightmares. Like for the longest time. When I'd go to bed, I had to sleep in the center of my bed in case a graboid came up. You know, like I was terrified.
Yeah, this is when the movie gets really freaking scary.
So you're saying you were most comfortable at the center of your bed.
Yep.
So you didn't watch a whole lot of
Shut your mouth. Because that was the other part. When you mix that, you're talking about Freddy Krueger, aren't you?
Yep. The boy
Yep.
sinks in right dead center into his bed and explodes into blood.
Well, I had seen Tremors, nightmares, like couldn't get out of it. Like I remember screaming for my mom, like losing your voice. You're that scared, screaming for my mom, coming out like, and like thinking if I make too much noise, the graboid's going to get me. But if I don't move, Kruger's going to fucking stab his Wolverine claws through the bed and kill me. Yep.
That's rough, man. That's really rough.
That was my life.
Maybe we shouldn't let small children watch these types of movies.
Yeah, we learned a very valuable lesson.
It turns out the rating system is there for a reason.
PG-13, only one F-bomb.
Yeah, that's all it takes. But yeah, things go pretty bad for the husband. He's like freaking out, and his wife's trying to figure out how to save him as he's being pulled into the ground by something. They don't know what it is. And she grabs a board and hands him the board, and he's trying to grab onto it, and it's really brutal how this guy dies.
Like, I mean, to give the actors, the doctor and his wife, like, they sold that performance.
Yeah, they
Like,
did.
Yeah.
That was spot on.
They both.
Yeah, that
they
guy
were both amazing.
genuinely looked terrified. It reminded me of when the old boat captain in Jaws got eaten at the end of the movie. You know, Jaws is just thrusting him around the boat and he's getting eaten alive, brought into the mouth. It was like that, but in dirt.
The wife also put on a great performance because, like, she sees him die and there's just this look of disbelief on her face, and she's like, holy shit, what's going on? And she's just in panic. She runs to her vehicle, jumps in, and then the radio gets knocked over and it starts up, and it's like old country western, which is really weird and feels so off in what's going on in the scene.
Yeah.
It was like music that you'd hear like at a country bar somewhere to kind of unwind.
Yep.
And that's playing while a car is getting sucked into the ground and people are being eaten alive.
And so she goes to put the keys in, and then she realizes he must have had the keys on him.
Oh, I never thought of that. I figured
she goes to put the keys in, and then she's like, you see her freaking out. He had to have the keys on him. He must have had the keys on him.
I didn't think of that. I just assumed they were in like that trailer that they were living.
Oh no, he definitely had the keys.
Because
like you could see it in her face that like 1 second she's mourning for him, and the very next second she's thinking, that asshole.
Exactly. Yep. There's this moment of despair like, oh, I am so effed right now.
Yep. And so she locks all the doors.
I mean, it seemed like a good plan. She didn't know what it was. Like, locking the doors made sense. I mean,
she saw the damn thing come out of the ground at her. Like,
how was she supposed to know the damn thing would be able to grab a whole station wagon and pull it into the ground? Because that's what it starts to do. It starts pulling it into the ground, the whole damn thing. And you see the back windows break out, and it's slowly pulled in.
Horn horn. She hits the lights, trying to
Mhm.
just manually start the car somehow, I guess.
It's a great scene because right at the very end, we just see the headlights appear in the like we're up over it. The cuts to like a hill scene, but we can't actually see the vehicle, but we just see the headlights pointing up into the sky and then slowly disappearing.
Yep.
It's really good. Thematically, it's amazing. And we hear the music though, like the whole time, that goddamn country music. And the lights fade and then we move on.
Yep. And then I think that's when it cuts to them talking about the saddle horses.
Yeah, they're talking about, and they're yelling at Chang that he better not have given them some old crappy horses. These better be fast.
Yep.
Don't forget, Melvin is also being a little shit.
Yep. He cries wolf a lot.
Oh my god, he does over and over again, like, oh no, the graboids got me. And it's just like, oh, Melvin.
That is that boy's entire character arc. Someone just decided, the story, Boy Who Cried Wolf? Yeah, let's put him in the movie.
Yep. Oh, it's got me, guys. And everyone's freaking out.
And make him somehow an even worse little shit. I think that's the best way to describe him, right? Little shit.
Yep. Melvin is a little shit.
Yep. I agree with that.
And he does it like 3 or 4 times in the movie.
Yep. And Bert has, like, Heather and Bert were out looking for Rhonda. And so Melvin comes out with the tentacle of the graboid wrapped around his neck, screaming, "It's got me!" And then you see Bert grab his gun and, like, aim it at the guy. And he's like, "You were this close. Too close." I'd have just shot him.
It would have been funny if Bert had actually shot him.
Well, he shouldn't have been pretending, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah. Nobody's like,
whoopsie.
I assume that was Nestor's son, but I don't think it was ever established.
I thought I wasn't mentioned that, like, later on the movie that he did mention his, like, after spoilers, Nestor dies, that he's like, oh my god, my dad's dead or something like that.
Maybe, I guess.
God, I'm trying to remember if I thought it was. I'm pretty sure it was established.
I know
at some
he
point.
freaked out when he was finally killed, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he just said, "You guys got to do something,"
Yeah, maybe. I guess I just always kind of assumed. Nestor must have been his father. I don't know who else it could have been. Why else he'd freaked out so much?
Right. That's kind of where I'm at. So then they take off
with the horses.
Yep. Plan. Of course, they've always, Earl's always got a plan. Here's the plan. We'll ride like hell. At night, we'll walk the horses. That's what they talk about. But then the horses catch wind of something they don't like and start, like spooking the animals, if you will, and won't move, and they get thrown from the horses.
Yeah. And the horses were on top of that stuff. I'll say that. Like, the horses had a lot better idea what was going on than they did.
Yep. They're like, they can sense something that they don't like. And the horses, they get thrown from the horses. By the time they get back up on their sides or whatever, look back at the horses, they just see these snake things wrapped around both the horses. That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
And I wonder how they got that shot. Because in one shot, there was definitely a horse lying on the ground, and it was definitely a real horse. But it was also definitely wrapped up in a prosthetic monster.
True.
Like, how'd they get that around the horse without somebody getting kicked the fucking face?
I think they just have a really well-trained horse.
Probably.
It must be.
That's a good horse, well trained.
So
such a good boy.
They start shooting at the tentacle things, and then all of a sudden the ground, like the ground starts shooting up or whatever out of them, and they're like, must be 1,000,000 of them. Nope, just one. The thing shoots through the ground, and you see the giant thing, and then it opens its mouth, and those tentacle things start shooting for them, and they go running, and they see a culvert. And
I thought it was a drainage ditch.
Well, culvert, drainage, whatever. It's something like sewer. It's kind of like where you used to live, Trev. And
yeah, that was a culvert. That's what I'd call it.
And so they run and they try to jump across.
Yeah, we can make it. And it's like a 12-foot jump they would have had to have made to get over this thing.
Did.
They did. It was
pulled themselves up.
Yeah, their fingertips made it.
Yeah, they almost made that jump.
And then you just hear a giant collision, and you turn around, and the graboid it knocked himself cold. Cold my ass. He's dead.
Yep.
Yeah. Just took a header right into a cement wall.
KO.
Yep. And then they start laughing and cheering for themselves, and Rhonda pokes her head over the top of it.
Hey guys, how you doing? What is that? It's like, come on, Rhonda. You didn't see that? You didn't see that before you saw them? What the hell?
You would have had to hear that collision too, right? Could you imagine what that would sound like?
One would have thought.
I mean, even if it was underground. I don't know. But yeah, so then Earl and Rhonda use a giant stick and pry the thing out so they can see the front of it. And then Val digs around the ass end, and you see how long it is, you see how big it is. You kind of get an idea of what they're up against.
And Rhonda's being super nerdy about it. Like she's not a like zoologist, but she's like
she's studying seismology, and she's like, it must predate the forever.
Yeah, she's talking about all this zoology kind of stuff, and I'm like, how? It would have made more sense if you were like in zoology. Like, this is not your area of expertise.
Nope. So then they come up with a plan to get the thing back. Of course, a plan. Again. And then they
gotta have a plan.
Go back with Rhonda.
Don't forget they want to sell to Mr. Chang, but this time they're going to get the big money.
Yeah, no measly $15.
That was great. That's the first thought they have, finding a new species, is, new species. Let's sell it. The corpse.
Yep.
But yeah, Rhonda figures out that they must travel through the ground because they have like little spikes on them, and they're using that to travel through the ground.
Yep.
And the soil is soft that they, where they're at, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. I'm just gonna give it to them that these big weird worm things can just travel through the ground that quickly. So they head back to go to Rhonda's truck, but her little seismic machines start freaking out, and she's like, oh, this is bad, guys. Like, there's one, like, right here. So they all freak out and jump on some rocks.
Yep.
And then the graboid pops out, and he's like, gotcha, oh, you guys are up on the rocks. And they're like, whew, that worked out. He can't get up on the rocks.
Yep.
But now they're trapped on the rocks.
They wait. They're there for a while, and then they're like, well, first thing we got to do is see if old Stumpy's still out there.
Because, yeah, this is the one that had its tentacle ripped off by their truck. So they named it Old Stumpy. And so they're throwing rocks out there, and like, when they didn't throw rocks, Valentine goes down to the edge and with a stick, and he's poking the ground with it. I know, like, remember Valentine? That thing's got like a 6-foot reach, and he's like, thanks, Dad. God. And it's like, yeah, Valentine, don't be a smart ass, because then it jumps out of the ground and tries to grab him. He's like, oh shit. And it's like, yeah, they were giving you good advice, but he escapes because plot armor, being a main character. But yeah, now they're stuck up on the rocks, and they have no idea how to get off them and escape. So they're stuck there all night. But
is this the part where they have to pole vault?
Yeah, it is. It's the part where Rhonda shows us that she's super smart, and she has a college degree for a reason, because they have a bunch of essentially big, like, sticks, like it's like timber sitting there, and she's like, oh, do you guys know how to pole vault? And they're like, well, we've never tried it, but I mean, it might work. And yeah, I thought that was actually rather clever that they use the sticks to essentially pole vault to the next rock, and they just keep doing that over and over again until they reach her truck, because it was probably like maybe half a mile away, a quarter of a mile away from where they were at. Like, there was no way they were gonna be able to run that distance on the ground. So I thought it was a very clever thing they did in the movie. But Valentine and Earl were pretty bad at it. They make it though to her truck,
and then she has to they have to jump in real fast, because once they get on the truck, it's going to cause vibrations in the ground. So she has to dive through the back window. Her feet are still dangling out, and I think she's just pressing on the gas with her hand.
Yeah, she is.
Thing.
And I mean, what else are you going to do in that situation? Because if they take too long, it's just going to pull the truck into the ground, and then they really will be up the shit creek without a paddle. So yeah, things get a little intense there, but they pull it off. They manage to escape, get back to town, tell everyone what's really going on. Melvin's still being a little shit, though. So I'm just going to refer to Melvin every time I talk to him. I'm just going to refer to him as the little shit, because he's still not taking it seriously. And I think the townsfolk are somewhat spectacle of this story of these gigantic monsters coming out of the ground and killing people. So they're all a little bit like, well, this is weird. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, are you sure? And then the graboids show up at the town, and things get pretty bad.
Yeah, once they get back and the graboids follow them, that's when we get to where they kill Walter, right?
A bunch of stuff happens. Like, they're discussing what to do, and I believe Mindy's out playing on her pogo stick. Everyone else is in talking, and they look out and they see her out there, and they're like, oh, snap, son. This is bad because it's attracted to vibrations. And she's just going along doing her thing, and Valentine has to run out and grab her, try to save her. It's a good thing he does, because the graboid pops up like right as he pulls her off her pogo stick, and it eats the pogo stick. But then it spits it back out because, you know, it realizes it's not food. But yeah, there's a lot of chaos in there. And this is also the part where Rhonda gets her feet caught up in the barbed wire.
Oh, yeah. And she has to drop trow to get away.
Yep, she has to. And they're like yelling at her, "Take off your pants."
So she does, and then they start running back into the general store, and the graboid's following them. And you get that shot where they're just outside the front of the general store on the porch. And the graboid follows them under the porch, and all the wood planks that make up the porch floor start going up.
Yeah, they start popping
as
up.
The graboid goes under it, and you just know that they created that scene just so they could have an excuse to have the camera low enough to zoom in on the girl in panties running at the camera.
Well, that, and also it's a really cool scene to just see like the boards popping up. Just have
it was well done,
because they did a similar thing earlier with the fence posts when they were running along to that to escape after their horses got killed. You see the fence posts getting knocked over.
Yep,
those little things like that are really that are really unique, that kind of just tell you what's going on, because they keep on doing that. They kind of give you an idea where the graboids are in the dirt, because you'll see the dirt kind of rise up slightly at different points in the movie, and you're like, oh crap, there's a graboid right there, and you'll see like the dust fly up a little bit, and it's like, okay, now I know where they're at, and that's freaky. But yeah, get a couple panty shot scenes in there, which is always nice. And so they run back in the general store, and they're all like, okay, what do we do now? And then that goddamn Pepsi Coca-Cola machine of Mr. Chang's starts acting up again. Those damn bearings,
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And if they would have fixed it when Val wanted to fix it, Chang would still be alive.
Yep, Mr. Chang dies because Earl was like, nope, we're not going to do this. We're leaving town. So, I mean, let's be honest. It's Earl's fault that Mr. Chang dies.
Yep.
Yeah, if it weren't for that fucking cooler.
Yep. I'm going to say it's 100% on Earl. It's 100% Earl's fault Mr. Chang dies. Because Valentine did want to fix it.
He just didn't want to do garbage, but still.
Nope. Earl's fault. Earl's a murderer. Manslaughter at the very least.
Poor Val.
But yeah, it breaks up through the floor. It grabs Mr. Chang and eats him. And it's pretty brutal. Like, blood's gushing out of his mouth. We watch him be consumed by the graboid. It's not a pretty sight. But now everyone realizes that being on the ground floor is not safe.
Right, because the second graboid comes up through the floor as well.
Yeah, and so now they're like, we got to get the heck out of here. And so they're like clinging to the walls and trying to climb up to the roof. But Rhonda kind of gets separated from the rest of them, and she ends up on one of the shelves.
Yep.
In the store, and they're like, jump, Rhonda, jump. And she's like, no.
She attempts, but she fails her parkour check and takes a header through a window.
Yep. Didn't pass her dexterity check, and she gets ends up and well, it's essentially dominoes as the shelves fall over.
Yeah, she was standing on the last domino shelf.
Yep. And so it gets knocked over. She gets thrown out through the window, but she's fine because like, once again, you know, plot armor, she manages to run over to the water tower, which is right next to the general store, climbs the ladder, so she's safe. And then Melvin's still being a little shit, and he's like, what do I gotta get up on the roof? Because they get up on the roof and they're all yelling, everybody get up on the roof, get on your roofs. Melvin's like, I don't see why, because he's like in a little shack. And I'm just like, if they had just not told Melvin to get up on the roof.
Yeah, they could have been down a problem.
Yep, one problem would have been roof. She's like, why do I gotta get on the roof? And then it starts attacking the shack, and he's like, oh shit. So he jumps up onto the top of the shack.
Kids that are just immune to good advice.
Yep. It's true.
Some people have to learn the hard way.
But
he just got.
Then they get the thing is, Bert and his wife Heather get back to their house, and so Heather's sitting there and she's looking out the window with her binoculars, and she's like, why is everyone on the roof? Like, what are they doing? Because they'd been out searching for whatever it was that had been killing people.
Rhonda.
Huh?
Wait, what? No, yeah, you're right. You're right. They
Yeah.
were searching for the killer. Sorry.
Yeah, they're searching for it, and so then Bert decides to call him on the, like, what is it, the ham radio? Is that what it is? It's a ham radio?
It's a ham radio or just like a pulled off CB radio or something.
Yeah, it's something
Yep.
like that. And so they get a hold of Bert, and they're like, Bert, they're in the goddamn ground. And Bert's like, oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, for our listeners that aren't boomers like us, these were devices used to communicate over short distances that weren't cell phones.
That's how truckers communicate.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like 20 years from now, people will be like, what are truckers?
Yeah, true.
Because machines will just drive all the food everywhere. But for now,
Think
people
they'll call
still
them-
know.
They'll call them rocketeers.
Cool. But Bert and his wife are back at the house, and so they get on the radio, and they're talking to each other. And Bert's like, I'm not really worried. I have all of the guns, all of them. But then, like, his Heather starts up that what are those? I'm trying to think of what the machine is called, but
It's to reload ammo. That's what I know.
yeah, it's like used to like clean up the bullet shells or whatever is what it's doing, like polish them. But it makes a lot of noise, and because the graboids are attracted to vibrations, and this thing's making a lot of vibrations, suddenly all the graboids are like, "Whoa, something's going on over there, boys! Let's go check it out." And so they're yelling at Bert on the radio. They're like, "Bert, they're coming right at you!" And Bert's like, "Oh, well, I'm still not worried. I have all these guns." And then one of them breaks through the wall of his basement. That was a mistake on that graboid's part to break through the wall of that basement.
Yep. They use a flare gun. They use different ARs. They use
Handguns.
shotguns, everything. I mean, you
Yeah,
see.
like-
everything. Finally, Bert grabs the elephant gun.
Yeah, he breaks the glass on, like, he has like a little shelf there, and he's obviously, this is like where he keeps the guns he really likes, because you see 3 or 4 different guns in there, and he breaks that glass and he grabs that out, and he grabs a couple of those elephant gun bullets and throws them in, and just right into that graboid's face.
Yep.
2 shots.
It explodes.
Yeah, like it messes that graboid up.
Mind you, the entire time this is going on, Val, Earl, everybody over on the other side of town thinks they're dead.
Yeah, because they're just
And-
hearing like screaming on the radio.
And then they hear all this distant gunfire. And then they get back on the radio and said, "We killed that mother humper," I think is the exact word they used.
PG-13.
Yep.
Oh man. But so yeah, it seems like everything's good, but then the graboids realize that maybe this isn't the easiest prey, and they like head back to the town. And the graboids are a lot more intelligent than we thought, because you see that they're like looking for weaknesses. They're like attacking the different buildings, trying to look for a way to get to them. And poor Nestor, he's on his like
Mobile home. And you may not know this about mobile homes. They are not particularly secure or stable. That's why when there's like a tornado or something, they always tell you not to stay in a mobile home, because they just aren't that secure. And they're able to knock over the entire mobile home. And Nestor falls down off of it, and they're all yelling, "Nestor, you need to get up on something." And Nestor is, well, like, Not the smartest.
not the smartest person in the world. And he jumps on a tire and sits on it. And they're like, "Nestor, yeah,
You gotta get higher.
you gotta get higher than that." And Nestor's like looking around. I'm like, "Oh, this guy's so effing dead." And yeah, it just like reaches up through the
Well, you hear the
center of the
graboid, like,
tire.
he gets sucked through the center of the tire, and then you hear the graboid burp,
Yeah. And
which was weird.
for like the only time in the whole movie we see Melvin not be a little shit. Like, we just see this moment of like, "Oh my god." It's like, yeah, Melvin, shit just got real for you, didn't it? You just watched your dad die in front of your face. Maybe now you're not gonna be a little fucker anymore.
Nope.
Hate Melvin. Hey, we only said the F word once, so this is PG-13, isn't it?
Who? You've only said the F word once.
I don't
Travis
remember
has said it 3 or 4 times.
Did they? I wanted to be the guy that said the F word one time. God damn it, guys. Now we're not gonna be PG-13.
Fuck.
Now I'm gonna have to go back through and like edit like 5 F words out of the movie, so I can be the only one that says it.
Well, then in that case, I'm gonna fucking say it in every sentence just to
Shit.
make it a pain in the ass for you.
Okay, I give up. This is gonna be rated R now. This is a rated R review of a PG-13 movie.
It's fine. The YouTube algorithm only checks the first minute. We can do whatever we want now.
Okay, that's what you think. So they realize that they need to get out of town because the graboids just keep attacking the buildings. And apparently these buildings are made out of paper mache because they're like falling apart after the graboids hit them like a couple times searching for weaknesses. And so they're like, okay, it's time to get out of town. We got to grab like everybody. And so they tell Bert, like, Bert, we're going to make an escape. And Bert's like, okay, that sounds cool. How are we going to do it? And the Hispanic guy, I can't remember his name. That guy's actually like probably the smartest person in the movie because he's like, oh, I know how we can escape. Like, because they decide that they need to use the bulldozer to escape, and he's like, use the lawnmower. They have like a lawnmower that's like set up right next to the grocery store or general store. And he's like, yeah, start that up and send that on its way. That'll make a lot of noise and distract the graboids while one of you runs over and grabs the bulldozer. I'm like, why is this guy so smart? Like, everyone else is a retard, and this dude's just on top of things. Like, the whole movie. So, of course, Valentine and Earl have to do rock, paper, scissors. And this is, like, the 5th or 6th time they've rock, paper, scissors by now. Like, it's been very well established that this is how they just apparently decide everything they do. And, Earl wins, and then Valentine's like, oh, man, I lost, guys. Guess I gotta go run over there and grab the bulldozer. And Earl's like, that's not how this works. I won. I get to decide what goes on here. I'm gonna grab it. And then they start arguing again, like the old married couple they are.
Yep. Which I don't really get. Did Val want to go because he wanted to impress Rhonda? Because if I were in that situation, I'd be like, nope, you want to go? Fuck, it's all yours, man.
I think he wanted to go because he was afraid that Earl, being an older guy, wouldn't be able to run fast enough to get there. Like, he felt he had a better chance of pulling it off.
Damn it, Val, I'm older and wise. Well, you have right.
Yeah. But so Earl decides he's gonna go, but Valentine pulls a dirty, no good, downright trick on him.
Yep. Gives him the old 1-2 with the elbow.
He makes a run for it. And so then they send the lawnmower off on the other direction, and it seems like it's going to work. I mean, really, the whole lawnmower idea was genius. Like it really was very clever. But then the lawnmower hits, what is it, like a hill or a bump or something, and it gets like gets tipped over when Valentine's he's almost there too when it happens. And then the graboids are like, wait a minute. This is sus. And they turn around, they go after Valentine. Things get really intense then, because like they are like right on top of him, and they're like, don't move. And he's like, I'm trying not to move, but there's like a goddamn graboid tongue grabber thingy. I don't know, do they actually have a name for like the tongue that it has? So. And it almost gets him, and he's playing footsie with it. And then Rhonda has a brilliant idea to since she's up on the water tower, to like essentially not like kick the pipe until it bursts, and then all the water comes cascading out, and that makes a lot of noise. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah,
that was pretty
smart thinking. But then she proceeds to stand on the ladder and watch the water.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that, because I'm like, you do know they're coming like right at you. Why are you sitting there staring at the water, being like, oh man, it's so pretty?
Yeah, she hung out on that ladder for a good few minutes.
Yeah, for like, it was way too long. And then she sees the graboids pop up right where the water is, and they're like trying to grab things. And then they grab the ladder she's on. And then she's like, oh, this was a bad idea to stay on the ladder, wasn't it? And it's like, yeah, it was. You're kind of dumb, actually. Like, I was just about ready to say you were really smart, but this was really dumb.
Yep.
But she's fine. She escapes because, plot armor for her main character. But I just didn't get why she was still on that ladder. It just, like, that's so dumb.
Yep.
I think they're trying to make some tension there where she's like, oh shit, I gotta get up. But I'm like, you're not gonna die from this. This is your main character. It just makes you look stupid after you did something really smart.
Yep. And then that gets Val to the bulldozer, and he's able to hook up the semi-trailer or whatever.
Yeah, like, I'm not even sure what it really even is, but they hook it up to that. I always thought it'd be really funny if like the keys hadn't been in the bulldozer. He gets there and he's like, oh.
Then Earl's like, I've got it.
That would have been hilarious. Earl like just holds up the keys and starts smiling at him and laughing. Well, you pranked me, bro. But it kind of works out because they are able to go and grab everybody, get them all collected, and then they go up to Bert and his wife. And Bert's like, don't worry, guys. I've got a few surprises because since Bert is a prepper, he apparently knows how to make homemade, like, bombs.
Yep.
Bert is always prepared. And he grabs some guns and bullets and everything.
30 minutes to put all the equipment they've had into the armored transport.
Yeah, he does take quite a while, and they're concerned that the graboids might be able to stop him then. And so they're yelling at Bert, and Bert's like, I want to grab more guns.
Yeah. So they jump into the back of it and they take off, and it's just a montage of them traveling in a bulldozer for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, everything seems like they've figured it out. They're going to escape up to the mountains, because that was the plan when they jumped in the bulldozer, was to get up to the mountains where it's all rocky, because the graboids can't get them up there.
Yep.
But then, who was it that yells, stop? Was it Bert? Was he in the front?
Bert was,
yeah,
he was in the loader.
Yeah, he sees that there's something weird, like, right in front of them. Like, he realizes...
He saw what was coming.
Yep. He realizes that apparently they've set up a trap on the road that they were traveling on. Well, I'm not sure if I'm probably generous calling it a road, but apparently the graboids have realized this is the path they're following up to the mountains, because they're actually reasonably smart creatures. And so they've essentially dug out the ground beneath where they're going, so the bulldozer falls into essentially a pit that they had dug underneath the ground right there. And so now they're really effed, because...
Bulldozer's fucked.
Bulldozers...
The only thing they got is a group of boulders off in the distance.
It's quite a bit of a distance, too. Like, they know that there's no way they're going to make it to the boulders without some of them being eaten alive.
Yep, so they use Bert's explosives.
Because when it explodes, it obviously causes a big shockwave, and since the graboids are extremely sensitive to sound, it scares them off, and they're able to get to the boulder.
Yep.
But everyone's not happy about that, are they?
Nope. Bert was very upset.
I don't blame Bert either. Like, he had all these guns, he had ammunition, he had food, he had water. They're arguing with Valentine. Valentine's, you would have died. I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think Bert might have been better off to stay at his house.
Well, we'd already seen the graboid shoot through their basement.
I know, but the thing is, if they would have had there's still, like, what is it, 3 graboids still alive at this point? 2. I mean, he has 4 walls in his basement. He would have just had to wait for one of them to break through another wall, kill it. Another one to break through another wall, kill it. I mean, he has the elephant gun, and the only reason why the elephant gun hasn't been able to kill any graboids since the first one that he killed is because they were underground. But as soon as they pop out through a basement wall, like, I don't know if it would have worked, but I don't really blame Bert. I think he had a reasonably good chance where he was.
I think they would have dug his house, his house would have sank.
I mean, it's definitely possible. They have shown themselves to be reasonably intelligent. Bert might have been effed if he had stayed there, but I don't blame him for making the argument that he would have been better off at his house, because things are looking really bad for them. They're stuck on this boulder. They have no food, no water, just Bert's explosions.
Yep. And then he comes up, they were fighting, basically Val saying that if the graboids don't kill him, I will. And so then...
Yeah, because Bert says, if I reach to the point where we're just going to die on this rock from exposure, I'm just going to grab one of my bombs, I'm going to walk out there, light it up, and let it eat me, and then blow it up with me, because F those guys.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, that's a really good idea, Bert. And Bert's like, what's a good idea?
Fishing light.
Yeah, so they essentially go fishing with explosives. They attach the explosive to a chunk of rope. They light it up, they throw it out there, and then they just kind of slowly pull it towards them. And this makes sense because the graboid's going to feel that vibration in the ground, run over, grab the explosion and eat it, and then blow itself up. And it works for the first graboid they do that on. Yep.
But the second one, old Stumpy, is smarter.
Yeah, Stumpy, I've come to the conclusion Stumpy is like is a genius of graboids. Like, it's an Einstein level graboid. It's the one that's been essentially directing all the other graboids and all these little exploits, all these things they've been doing, like taking out the bulldozer and attacking like the stores and stuff. It's been Stumpy that's been doing these things. It's super smart.
The super smart one.
Stumpy got himself a PhD.
He did in graboidism. And so that when they try to do the same thing they'd done with the last graboid, throwing out the explosive and then essentially starting to pull it back in, Stumpy grabs the explosive, but then apparently he instantly realizes this is not food and he spits it back out.
He yeets it.
Yeah, he yeets it back at them. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game like Call of Duty and you throw a grenade, but then it bounces off a wall back at you and you see the kill cam. Killing yourself from the bounce, and you're like, oh really? That's essentially what happens. It bounces back, and the worst part is it lands on all the other bombs Bert had sitting there by the boulder, and it blows everything all to hell up. Like people are sent flying. This is a huge explosion, and our main characters all find themselves laying out there on the dirt, and they're looking at each other like, how did we end up here?
Yeah, they all get pretty scattered.
Yep. And they try to make it back to the rock, and old Stumpy comes between them and the rock, and they stop, similar to how Val stopped when he was running to get the bulldozer. And it's finally Val's time to have a plan. And that's my favorite part of the movie. He's over here talking, this guy's not smarter than us. Who cares if we make it to the rocks? We'll be dead in 3 days. And Earl's like, I want to live for the 3 days. And then he's like, I got myself a plan. I'm going to go for it. He starts running the opposite direction. Earl's like, what the hell are you doing? I got myself a goddamn plan!
And then he's like...
And it finally comes full circle.
No, then he's like, where's the lighter at? And Rhonda's like, I have the lighter! And it's like, oh boy. So they're all running along.
Yep. They run to basically where Val was peeing at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it goes full circle, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's like the same spot.
Yep. And so then he rips off part of the fuse, and Earl's like, light it. He's like, not yet. And then he lights it, and he throws it too far, and Earl's like, you threw it too far. You threw it behind him. And they run out of the way, and they're like, Val, get out of the way. And he's just staring at it, waiting, and it explodes and goes shooting off the side of the cliff, and did some foreshadowing for the later movies.
Well, it scares the graboid, because we've seen this before.
Behind him. Yep.
So it makes it charge forward, like it stampedes forward right at Val. And then Val jumps out of the way. You may say it now. You may say it, Kyle.
Can you fly, you sucker? But with a lot more gusto.
Can you fly, sucker? Can you fly? I can't do it either.
Can you fly?
I didn't know Chris Rock was in this movie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's pretty awesome because we see it just fall down the side of that canyon and just flat.
Basically like a giant turd.
Mm-hmm. It was very satisfying.
And it dies, and they're all happy, and everybody else that's still out on the rock is like, I'm not getting off this fucking rock.
I mean, Rhonda had kind of figured... I mean, Rhonda could have been wrong. She had said earlier in the movie how many graboids she had figured out, but what if she had been wrong about how many there were?
True.
Oops, there was an extra one. Sorry about that, guys. As it eats somebody.
Melvin.
Hopefully it would have been Melvin, but she was correct how many graboids there were. So the day is saved. And they're all back at the town, and Valentine and Earl are getting ready to leave, and Rhonda comes over, and she's all like, guess you guys are going to Bixby then. And they're like, yep. And Earl's like, do it. And Valentine's like, I don't know. And Earl's like, God damn it, Valentine, get over there and kiss the girl.
She walks away, and he's like, what's a girl like her want to do with a guy like me? I mean, she's going for a PhD.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he's actually good enough to catch her interest, but you can tell, like, throughout most of the movie, she's kind of been doing, like, the doe eyes at him. Yep. Like, she's interested.
Yep. So
he pricks up the courage, he walks over, and he starts talking to her, and then they have the big kiss scene, because that's what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm. And then end credits roll.
Which is quite sudden. I mean...
Well, there was supposed to be an alternate ending of them going to Bixby and then realizing they made a mistake and going back.
That would have been kind of funny, but it kind of... This is kind of... I mean, the movie came out in 1990, but it was a very 80s type movie since it was so close to the end of the 80s. And if you look at a lot of the old 80s movies, like, they end like that. Like, those kind of, like, sci-fi, action, horror type movies.
I thought it was an 80s movie until Kyle corrected me.
Yep, 1990 came out. But yeah, it had a very 80s feel, because that's how all the 80s movies ended. If you ever watch like Predator or like Aliens or like Gremlins or stuff like that, it just kind of boops. just ends quite suddenly without any bullshit.
No warning, just boom, it's done.
Not like more modern movies where they like have a tendency when it's a horror movie to like have that like that last jump scare. None of that jump scare bullshit was going on back then. Where the the bad guy comes back for one last attempt to kill people type thing.
Leave it open ended.
So yeah, that was the movie.
And it's great. It's the best movie of all time.
Yep. It is Carl's favorite movie in existence, I'm pretty sure.
Is that what we settled on for you, Kyle? Tremors is your favorite?
Yep. Best movie.
That's why
one of the best actors, Kevin Bacon.
Yep, that's why.
I mean, the writing in it, like the consistency with it, the writing, the constant jokes, I got the plans, the rock paper scissors, everything. Just it's consistent. It's well written. It's well acted. It's just really good.
They do really pull off the two country boys thing. I've been drinking.
It's fine. I brought Kyle along tonight because I knew this was like his favorite movie in existence. I didn't want him to miss out on talking about something he was so passionate about.
Super passionate. Plus, I made Travis watch it with me, and I've been talking about watching it with him since like high school. So it's been like 20 years.
It's been a while for me. I had nothing against watching it again.
It's just watching it with me being quote everything could drive people nuts.
But yeah,
this is absolutely true, but I'm kind of used to it.
Yay!
But yeah, great movie and enjoyed it. I feel like for the future, for anyone that follows the podcast, I should probably do a bad movie next time. I don't know what this bad movie will be, but I've been doing good movies lately. So if you want to watch we'll have to do a shitty movie next time. Something awful.
Something terrible.
Yep, something absolutely terrible. So you can just hear our suffering and our pain. I've been only doing movies that are actually enjoyable lately. I need to suffer now.
You just want do you want the audience to see you suffer, or do you want to suffer?
Well, I mean, like
maybe you're a little masochistic.
Yeah, I need to do a little masochism for people that are into that. So I don't know what it's going to be, but it'll be something awful. So if that's more of your thing, for the next podcast, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, we'll find something terrible.
So any finishing thoughts for Tremors that anyone would like to add on before I call it?
If anybody's interested, the second, third, fourth, the second one wasn't bad. The third, fourth were terrible. But you need to watch the latest one that's come out on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it kind of returns to the original concept of it, and it's really I think it's called Shrieker Island, to be honest with you. But definitely check it out. Worth checking out.
Okay, yeah, good to do that. And if there is a good Tremors movie, but like I said, I gotta watch a bad movie next time, so it's not going to be one of the.
Or it is bad.
That's the problem. Is if I'm going to do Tremors, I want to do them in order. And Tremors 2 was good. I mean, not as good as the first one, but it was still pretty solid. So I can't do Tremors 2 after I said I'm going to do a bad movie.
We have to do some bottom of the barrel shit next time.
Yep.
Since you kind of hyped it up there, so it's got to be something awful.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be, but next week you will tune in and you'll hear us crying probably because it's going to be bad, whatever it is. So look forward to that. And good night.
My closing thoughts, quick.
Okay.
Highly recommend the movie. It's my favorite PG-13 tentacle hentai ever.
Okay. Please don't look that up. Anything you want to say, Kyle, before I turn it off?
Don't listen to Travis.
Oh.